Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, the Ukrainians are telling us how many or what proportion of the Russian army died, perished during the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Now obviously I have a few questions because I can't be like a below 86. I might be around that IQ, but nevertheless I still have a few questions, okay? When things are very dumb, way dumber than below 86, let's say 35 IQ, then as an around 86 IQ, I need to ask a few questions. Is really, even for the tards, that sounds like and you say what? So this article comes from Ukrainska Pravda, September 18th, 2022. Russian units lose half of their soldiers during withdrawal from Kharkiv Oblast, General Staff report. Okay, so half, 50%. The question is, from how many? So if you know that a team, an army, lost half, you must know the total number, right? I would like to know the total number so I can see the half. Well, let's see, maybe they will provide us with the number of, because how in the hell otherwise that those guys lost half of their army, the personnel, right? The soldiers. If you don't know the total, you cannot know what the hell happened unless you hear someone, oh, we lost half. Out of how many? How do you know it was half? How did you figure that out? But nevertheless, let's go. Units of the 11th Army Corps of the Baltic Sea Fleet of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation have lost over 50% of their military personnel and more than 200 pieces of equipment in the course of withdrawal from Kharkiv Oblast as a result of Ukrainian counteroffensive. So they give us 200 pieces, more than 200 pieces of equipment. Okay. But how do you know that's more than 50% of their military personnel? Now, let's say the military equipment, you can count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as you advance. Okay, you can see that. You might also see it from the satellite or whatever other sources you have. But if you say 50%, how did you count those guys? The same as the equipment? If yes, then you shouldn't have a number. Maybe they give us the number, okay? General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine posted those on Facebook at 600 on 18th, so 6 o'clock in the morning, 18th of September. Details: in addition, the 64th Separate Guard Motor Rifle Brigade of the Eastern Military District of the Russian Armed Forces lost over 90% of its military personnel who were killed. How many? How many? You should know the total. And how do you know the total? And how do you know is 90%? Did you count them? And how do you know that was the total? Just questions, bottom feeder questions. That's what I am. Trying to make sense of whatever these guys are saying. Nothing else. So it says 90% of its military personnel who were killed, wounded, deserted, or fired. Well, that's so information that they can't really have as a result of refusing to take part in hostilities. So they say 90% of that brigade, 64th, were killed. Okay, you can count the killed, all right? If they didn't take the perished military personnel with them. Second, wounded. How do you know they're wounded? Unless you find the ones here, but probably they took them with them too. So how do you know how many were wounded? They're in military hospitals, I'm assuming, right? And then deserted. How do you know they deserted? If the Russians are incapable of finding the deserted ones, it's like this. Boom, bam, 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 bam. And you say, well, 55 deserted. How do you know? How did you count them? Did you already identify the dead? Did you identify the hurt, the injured one, the wounded one? I mean, these guys are just talking BS here. And then they say, well, 90%. You pull that number out of your butt or something? Yeah, I think so. So the brigade's equipment is being transferred to border security units of the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation in preparation to disbanding the unit. All right, well, that makes sense. And then it says that the General Staff notes that the Russian occupying forces are suffering significant losses following their attempts to assault the Ukrainian defense forces. Okay, it says in the ongoing combat in this country on the Avdiivka front, according to the available information, over 30 military personnel of the 1st Army Corps of the Russian Army Forces end up in hospitals daily. So they got a number of 30, but how do you identify where they come from? How do you know it comes from the 1st Army Corps? I mean, this is information, and it's daily. They have information daily. That means they got the person who writes down, okay, this is this, and then they call the Ukrainians. Hey, by the way, today we got about 29 from the 1st Brigade, and yesterday we had it from the 55th Armored Vehicle Panzer Division. Okay, thank you. Jawohl, danke. This is how it goes, right? The occupiers are doing everything they can to restore combat capabilities of the units that have sustained losses. You bet they're trying to do that. So you see, when I read this kind of I don't know how to name these things, how to label them, this kind of information where they give you 50%, 20%, this and that. I ask, how did you get that amount? How did you get to that number? And if you got through knowing then why don't you share it with me? I have a little, how do you call it? I have a little, I don't know. I think that they just pull out numbers from their butts and they just say it, to make people like us happy about it, or people like others thinking, oh my God, we hit 90%. Oh, they ran 50%. Oh my God, we're doing great. But if you look just one little step, we don't have a full step, a little step, half of the step further, saying, ask a question, well, how did you come to this information? I don't want you to tell me, I don't know, Bruce Dickinson told you that. No, I don't want you to tell me that. But you should be able to give me like the other one, the hospitals, 30 people a day. How many hospitals? I mean, you really have to be the Russian, I don't know, control center, or the center that gets all the information in order to be able to come with this. I mean, it's not only one military hospital, obviously, there's more than one. So you have all these things coming from the hospitals. You have to be in the control center. Now, if you're that good to have informants over there, then you should know exactly how many they come. Okay, about 30. All right, good. You got about 30. From only that source. You have to be really the person who puts the data in the computer or writes it down. And if that's the case, do you think that if I can figure that out, the Russians can't figure it out? Or you tell me, no, maybe there's the other ways, they just get hooked to their lines or to the, frequency, and they decoded their transmissions. That's possible. But in order to do all that, do you think these guys are bothering to find all that information and say, yeah, it's exactly 30 people or something? And I'm not sticking with that. I'm going back with that 90% and then the 50%. If you know all that, tell us how many. I would like to know. That would, make your statements a little bit, let's say, credible. So this is what they say. I don't believe that's what they say. That it is what they say. They said they also, the Ukrainians captured hundreds of Russian POWs. Could be, but don't you think they would have already posted them, walking around with their hands up or under this or whatever? I think they would have done that. They did with each and every person almost. They not each and every person, but with certain people they did. Post them over there. I mean, that's a big capture. Hundreds, don't you think? It would be a PR big one, right? But no, they don't. They don't post that, like showing 300 Russians all in marching, going to, I don't know, to the seaside resort, because that's how they will take care of the Russian prisoners of war. Okay, so I want more information. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.